Oh, yeah. Man, this freaking the gun in the hat thing. Who thought of that, and why is it a recurring thing? It's so
Well, I
stupid.
think it's just a visual flair.
It's funny, but it's, like, way overdone at this
Yeah, I
point.
mean, it tells you that, at least they're disarmed and
True.
they're going flying pretty far, which I've heard in real life, though, if somebody gets, like, hit hard enough by, like, either, like, a train or anything and their shoes fly off, then they are dead.
Yeah?
Yeah.
'Cause their shoes should stay put or something?
Something about, like, the physics. So,
There needs to be, like we need to do our own episode of Mythbusters where we punch somebody really hard in the face and see if they drop a gun and their head flies off.
you can do that. I'm not going to
I kid.
participate.
I don't think
Maybe
it's
on a dummy.
possible.
Maybe on a dummy.
There you go, I'll get a
Yeah.
dummy and I'll punch it in the face.
Yeah. Alright. Any final thoughts on this issue?
No, it was a fun
Sorry.
issue, wasn't, like, anything crazy. There's
Yeah.
a little bit to talk about it, but not like anything important. It doesn't
Yeah.
make any huge strides for Batman's continuity.
It's a straightforward mystery, and that's that. I mean, it doesn't even end with a dramatic death.
Yeah. It's pretty typical of a Batman comic. I think if
Yeah.
you picked this up and it was your first Batman comic ever and you read it, you'd get a good gist of what Batman comics are about.
Yep. It's a very typical issue.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Yep. All right. After the break, we'll get into Detective Comics number 45. Be there. Welcome back. We are going into Detective Comics 45.
Yes, that's right. The Case of the Laughing Death. And last time we predicted that this was going to be a Joker issue. We were right, obviously.
Yep.
Um,
Well, I think we looked at the
yeah, we did look at the
first
splash
page.
page. It
Yeah.
was right there, but
Yep.
even if he wasn't, we would have been right.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is the November 1940 issue, art by Bob Kane, Jerry Robinson, and George Russos, written by Bill Finger. This one has a striking red cover. In the foreground, you have Robin tied to a tree and some really ugly looking guy with dark circles around his eyes who's balding, who looks like he's about to deck Robin in the face. Except Batman is lunging over a wall about to get the guy, so he's second guessing himself. Batman's bat symbol on his chest on this cover is like really weird. It's kind of like deformed. It looks like either they screwed it up really bad or they were trying something different that didn't stick. The rest of this cover looks really good though. Like the
Yeah.
coloring is really good. Like the pencil lines are really like crisp and
The
clean.
detail on the thug.
Yeah, that's what makes me think that they
Yeah.
were trying something new for some reason and they
Mhm.
just decided that it looked dumb and didn't go with it.
Yeah. This wasn't usual. A lot of times they'll be it'll depict a scene from like the previous issue of Detective, but
Yeah.
the last one was dwarves and elves. So nope, this one is just a random scene of Robin getting assaulted.
That's right. I think that's a recurring thing too that
Yeah.
on the covers going forward in the next couple of years, you're going to see a lot of Batman hopping over a wall and Robin tied up to something.
Hmm.
All right, let's get into the synopsis here. It's nightfall. Batman stands across the street from a private museum of one Joshua Slade. He watches a group of 5 men get out of a car and skulk their way towards the building. Real quick. I'm using a lot of adjectives that they actually used in the comic issue this
Mm.
time because I liked a lot of the adjectives and I started to notice that the description boxes were like way more descriptive in this issue than they've ever been before. So I actually copied and pasted some of them into my description here. I
Okay.
bet you can't tell which ones are mine and which ones are theirs. The caretaker goes to the door after a man insistently rings the doorbell. He goes to see what's going on. As soon as he opens the door, he's clubbed in the head, and the men file into the museum. Batman immediately goes into action. He bolts across the street and straight through the front door. He wastes no time in taking them down. The thugs don't know what hit them. One second they're talking about taking down the burglar alarm and laughing about how easy it's going to be. Then, before they know it, Batman's in there beating them all down. Some of the thugs that were farther away from Batman charge towards him. He quickly turns around and grabs a lance from his suit of armor, which he uses to pole vault over their heads. At the pinnacle of his vault, Batman lets go of the pole and latches onto a chandelier, which he then swings to the top of the stairs. Before any of the thugs realize what's happening, Batman leaps onto a wall drapery and swings himself in a tremendous arc. He puts all of his weight into one good kick, and the kick topples a towering statue, which then pins 3 of the men to the floor. Batman lands on the ground next to the 2 remaining thugs, and he makes a crappy joke. Next time, take off your hats when you've got company. What?
Wah, wah.
That's bad. And then he pulls both of their hats down over their faces and wishes them happy nightmares before punching both of their lights out. Batman hears a police siren. He turns to look in the direction of the siren and sees that one of the men somehow managed to escape. In panic, the escaping thug runs straight through the window and across the street without stopping. Batman tails him, thinking that it will lead to bigger game. After a few blocks, the thug disappears into a pawnbroker shop. One that looks suspiciously familiar, by the way. It looks very much like the pawnbroker shop that was run by another Batman villain in a previous issue.
Maybe it was easy to secure rent.
Yeah. The previous tenant was killed. You can get it cheap. Batman allows a few moments to pass, and then he enters the shop himself. He's dumbfounded, though. There is nothing in the shop but blank brick walls. Quickly, Batman realizes that there must be a secret hidden entrance somewhere. He begins to feel out the walls, looking for a switch. While Batman fumbles in vain, the action switches over to the record store next door. The owner of the store, a Mr. A. Rekaj, is berating the thug who escaped from the museum. He's mad at them for failing, but the thug tells him that Batman ruined their plans. Once he hears the name Batman, he stops yelling and gets somber. He mumbles to himself about how their fates always seem to be crossing. Then he tells the thug to bring the rest of the mob tomorrow night because he has another job for them. Locking the door behind the thug, Mr. Wreckage shuffles to the back of the store and lifts up a piece of carpet to reveal a trap door. He descends into the room below. The room is overflowing with artwork and treasure. Wreckage undresses, removing makeup to reveal the dead white, mask-like face of the Joker. Then he laughs to himself about how stupid these thugs are to not suspect anything. Then he produces a special vinyl record, which he plans to use to kill the district attorney, Carter. Meanwhile, across the street, a confused and frustrated Batman stares at the building and reminds himself to keep an eye on the place. He wasn't able to find the entrance, apparently. The next day, D.A. Carter receives an anonymous package containing an unmarked vinyl record. He puzzles over it, but decides to play it anyways. As the record revolves, a violin is heard playing strange, unearthly noises. After a few moments of music, it stops, and an eerie, monotone voice comes out of the turntable. District Attorney Carter, even as I speak, the needle bites into this record, releasing a deadly gas sprayed onto its surface. It brings you death from the Joker. Seconds later, the DA slumps down into his chair, his face contorted into the same sinister smile as the Joker.
You're never supposed to open an email with an attachment you don't know what was from. And I guess the same could go for music records.
Don't play a record if you don't know who it came from and there's nothing inscribed on it. Anyways, maniacal laughter spills forth from the record, so loud that the police in the street below hear it and investigate. They break down the door to D.A. Carter's office and find his corpse smiling back at them from his armchair. One of them turns off the record player and calls it in. The next morning, Bruce and Dick are reading the paper when they come across an article about the Joker and the DA. Looks like Batman and Robin are going to be needed tonight.
Plus, it also looks like Gotham needs a new district attorney.
Again.
I wonder if, no, we still got 3 years until Two-Face?
Why are all these villains always killing the district attorney?
They're easy targets.
I guess so. We cut to the interior of the A record store. Wreckage himself is finishing up giving orders to the mob. As the men exit the building, Batman watches from the darkness. The mob thugs pay a call to Terry Manor and his band. They tie them up and take their place. Posing as the Terry Manor band, the thugs gain entrance to the Schuler mansion. Once in position, they open their instrument cases to reveal guns. They quickly loot everyone's valuables and place them into a small handbag. But right as they're about to make their getaway, a mournful voice is heard. The voice of the Joker. Joker pulls his own gun and threatens to kill everyone. He forces them to hand over the bag of valuables. They comply. But no sooner does Joker have his prizes in his grasp Then Batman comes swinging in through an open window. The masked vigilante says not a word. Instead, like a veritable tornado of action, he takes out the entire mob in a matter of seconds. The Joker flees, and Batman gives chase. Batman stops Joker with a flying tackle, but as the two men rise to their feet, Joker lands a heavy blow to Batman's head with the bag of jewels, knocking him down and temporarily unconscious. Moments later, Batman gets back up, still dazed. Joker's gone, but he sees the thugs from earlier getting into their getaway car. Running low, he reaches out for the tire rack on the back of the car and hops onto the bumper. The hoodlums, unaware that they have an extra passenger, speed off to the record store of Mr. Wreckage. Batman trails them to the same empty room as before, but this time he witnesses one of the men sliding a blade into a crack in the wall to reveal the hidden panel. The thugs make their way through the secret passage to the rear entrance of the record shop. Once inside, they tell Mr. Wreckage all about what happened with Joker and Batman. Wreckage is furious with them and kicks them all out. As soon as they have all left, Wreckage descends into his trap door lair again and removes his makeup, once again becoming the Joker, Clown Prince of Crime. He recounts his entire operation out loud and then bursts into maniacal laughter. And then, out of nowhere, Batman's voice. So, you even double-cross your own men, eh, Joker? Batman wakes his way slowly towards the grim jester. You're not getting away this time, Joker. Before he has time to realize what's happening, Joker steps on a button on the floor, and the glass dome slides from the ceiling to encase Batman.
Maybe he got the glass case from a certain other villain we know.
Maybe he got the idea from him because Batman broke that one. Joker laughs and then informs Batman that the glass dome is shatterproof and that he will die slowly of asphyxiation. While he escapes and makes his way across the ocean to steal a cool $500,000 worth of treasure. When Joker is gone, though, Batman pulls a small vial of acid from his utility belt. He pours the acid onto the glass dome, melting it and weakening it enough that he can break out.
Acid can't melt glass domes.
It can in Batman, okay? Once freed, Batman looks around the Joker's lair for a possible clue as to where he has gone. He very quickly finds a newspaper clipping. It's not really clipping, actually. It's more like he tore a piece of the newspaper out, but he very quickly finds a torn out piece of newspaper with a story about a $500,000 jade Buddha. Batman now knows that the Joker plans to steal this jade Buddha. Sometime later, we see Mr. Wreckage being pulled up out of the ocean and rescued from some wreckage from an apparent plane crash by the very same ship that happens to be transporting the jade Buddha. At the same time, Robin pilots the Batplane towards the ship. Batman swan dives off the plane and makes his way aboard the ship by scaling the anchor. Joker, meanwhile, has already removed his disguise and is busy gassing the guards. He produces an acetylene torch and proceeds to burn his way through the safe door that protects the jade Buddha. He finally reaches his prize. The Joker wraps his filthy criminal hands around the Buddha and exclaims that, "Mine, it's all mine, and nobody can take it away from me." Batman bursts through the door. Joker pulls his gas gun, but Batman smacks it out of his hand. Joker runs out of the room. With his free hand, he grabs a fireman axe off the wall and swings it at Batman's head. Batman steps nimbly aside and easily disarms the Joker, throwing him off balance. Joker falls backwards onto the ground, but as soon as he lands, he flails out with both feet and catches Batman in the solar plexus. Batman catches his breath and gives chase. As Batman pursues the Joker, the Chinese delegates aboard the ship see the whole situation going down and misread it. They think that the Joker is trying to save the Buddha from Batman, the masked man. Robin, who is also aboard, hears them and sees the situation as well. Before the delegates can converge on Batman, Robin plows through them like a human battering ram. Batman sees a good opportunity to get the upper hand on Joker. He leaps for a metal bar, which I have no clue why this metal bar is just randomly on this ship, but whatever. He leaps for a metal bar, swings his body around, and propelling himself to the upper deck of the ship and landing on Joker's shoulders. Not unlike what Robin does all the time. And then Joker drops the Buddha, and Batman decks him as hard as he can. Joker staggers backwards and falls over the ship's railing to the dark water below. Surprise, surprise. As Batman wonders if this really is the last of the Joker, the Chinese delegates approach him and apologize for their misunderstanding. Batman tells them to sell the statue and use the money to help their people. Then he takes off in the Batplane with Robin while the delegates stand aboard the ship and watch. As he flies off into the sunset, he spouts some cheesy shit about how Batman always puts his life